Ford vs Chevy is a unique arcade racing game that was published by 2K Games and developed by Technics for the PlayStation and the Xbox in 2005. And this game would take a very different approach to your typical style of Ford or Chevy games that would have been seen at the time, as this game has more of an arcade focus but also has story elements added into it, and mind you, quite funny type of elements, as it has almost like a cartoony style approach to the game, as the story based around a rivalry between the two brands and fans of both of the brands, where you have fans on one side pitting against fans on the other, and they detest each other pretty much, so they're always kind of at loggerheads trying to see who's the better of the two. So it's an interesting dynamic, and it definitely plays out well in the game. That serves up a multitude of different game modes that allows you to pick amongst almost 50 variations of Ford and Chevy vehicles that you can play through with a variety of different types of tournaments and cup modes, even quick race modes and multiplayer that you can play against your mates. And it has a really good arcade aesthetic to the game, and compared to other like Ford or Chevy type racing games, the handling has definitely been drastically improved compared to previous games, and the result would be that it would receive decent reviews, above average reviews across the board with regards to games magazines, stating that they like the visual style, that they like the handling, they like the dynamic that the game was going for, but they loved the fun element that was associated with the game, as it had more of like a comical style of feel, that it didn't take itself too seriously compared to other racing games seen at the time. And while you do have a multitude of different game modes, even progressing through your campaign or careers, you can unlock other vehicles, and you also have a different approach with the addition of challenge modes that you can use, where you have timed events and you have to go to different points at a certain time and you have to complete certain objectives, and you also have to look for collectibles and smash billboards, take photos, and you have to complete a variety of different challenges throughout your playthroughs in order to unlock everything the game has to offer. So it definitely has a lot of replay value in the game, and there's more than enough here to keep you entertained for quite some time. Even from my own personal experience, I remember going back years ago, now I seen this in game stores and I did like the look of it, but for whatever reason at the time I just never really got round to picking it up, and now getting to play it, I realised that I should have bought it back then, because it is a really good solid racer. It's a good fun racer. Now it's not to say that it's super easy, it's not. It is challenging, especially at the early stages of the game. It will take you a while to get used to the controls and the dynamics, although they're not as refined or as well fleshed out compared to other racers. It is a good solid racer at its heart. It has a lot of really cool arcade dynamics, it is fun and very versatile gameplay, and it generally, I have to say, is a very very good all-round racer to play, and it's definitely for me one of the better racers that I've ever played on the PlayStation. And my only regret is that I didn't play this game or owned it sooner, because if I'd known that the game was as good as it is, I would have bought it sooner. Just for some reason I overlooked it, and I think that's the thing with the game. The game, even though it is a good solid racer, I think it was quite often overlooked back in the day, because there was a multitude of these type of games that were out and available for both the PlayStation and Xbox and even the PC, and because of the variety of games that were available, they did vary in terms of quality. So in most regards, a lot of people probably would have overlooked this, thinking that it would have been more of the same, but it's actually better than a lot of those other games that were released around that time. It definitely has some really really nice visuals. If anything, I would consider to be among some of the better looking racing games seen on the PS2. There's really good graphics with the environments, the car models, and even though it has more of an arcade aesthetic, it just feels really good to play. It's a really good all round solid racer, and with the addition of the various challenges and other modes that are available, it definitely changes up the gameplay dynamics so that you're not just focusing on out and out racing the whole time. It definitely gives you a break from that to focus on other elements, so that you will have to complete, and you will need to complete them in order to progress further into the campaign. So it is just generally an all-round enjoyable experience. And then you do have that coupled with the various story elements, where you have various intros that have different fans from both brands pitting against each other and pretty much slagging each other off, and even you have the commentary as well, which at times can be quite funny in terms of their one-liners and how they wind each other up as well. So that dynamic definitely adds to the fun element element of the game. It just is, for me, a good all-round solid title, and it's definitely one of the better racers that I recommend that you do check out, and I highly recommend you do look at it if you're into racing games on the PS2, because I think for many this is an often overlooked title that definitely deserves a lot more attention. It is a good solid racer, and definitely one worth checking out for sure. It just has many elements that will appeal to a lot of gamers. While challenging, it definitely has enough unique appeal that when you put a bit of time into it, you will find yourself getting addicted to this game. It is a very enjoyable experience overall, and I would love to know your thoughts on Ford vs Chevy for the PS2 if you have played it yourself back in the day, and if so, what do you think of the game overall? Do you think it's one of the better versions of these type of racers seen on the system, and if so, did you enjoy it, or maybe not so much? I'd love to hear whatever story you do have of this game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be updated with future videos. And if you would like to see more content on the channel around other types of racing games similar to this that was also released on the PS2, then you can check out this playlist here on screen to see more of those games in action. And I will see you all in the next one.